Welcome to the deep dive. If you're training in emergency medicine here in the UK, whether you're ACCS, go through HST, or on the CESR pathway, you'll know all about the 2021 curriculum change.
Mm.
And with it, a really big pivot in how we have to approach quality and safety. It's not just about reading a chapter into a textbook anymore.
No, it's about showing a continuous habit of improvement. And that's our focus today, really. We're going to do the ultimate breakdown of specialty learning outcome 11 SLO 11.
Right. Participate in and promote activity to improve the quality and safety of patient care. That's the line, isn't it?
That's the one. It's basically the foundational skill set for a modern EM consultant, and you have to prove you're doing it, longitudinally throughout your training.
So the mission for this deep dive is to give you a bit of a tactical blueprint, maybe a shortcut to mastering SLO Level 11. Because the shift from, say, that one audit you did in CT2 and then forgot about, it's monumental.
It is. And the critical thing to get your head around is that simple audit is, well, it's pretty much obsolete for this. The emphasis now is squarely on specific quality improvement QI methodologies.
So we're talking PDSA cycles, driver diagrams, that sort of thing.
Exactly. You have to document the entire journey of the improvement, the learning process, not just a final data snapshot.
Okay, so let's start with the big picture, though. Why the change? Why did the curriculum move away from that occasional tick box audit to this continuous embedded thing?
Well, it really came down to compliance and trying to generate a genuine culture change. The 2021 curriculum was built to align directly with GMC requirements.
Right.
And they stressed that patient safety has to be a core part of daily practice, not just a chore you cram for right before your ARCP. The old system, it kind of encouraged procrastination.
I see. So it's an educational strategy. You mentioned spiraling and spacing. How does that actually help with the reluctance that a lot of trainees have towards QI work?
It uses learning psychology, really, interleaving. By making you show evidence of QI activity every single year, the curriculum forces you to keep cycling through the principles. If you learn about a fishbone diagram in ST1, but then don't touch QI again until ST5, you've forgotten it. Spiraling means you revisit it, you build on that knowledge annually. It becomes a tool in your toolbox, not just a hurdle.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about integration, not isolation. Now, I have to admit, when I first saw the requirements, my mind went straight to classic clinical things like reducing door to CT time.
Sure, the classic stuff.
But the scope of acceptable projects is surprisingly broad now.
Yeah.
How can a project on, say, reducing ED waste be counted in the same way as one that reduces clinical risk?
Yeah, that's a really good point. It speaks to a much broader definition of quality. While clinical safety is obviously paramount, the assessment understands that quality covers systems, sustainability, staff well-being.
So it's about the skills, not the topic.
Exactly. They're not counting the clinical impact equally, but they are counting the skill set you demonstrate equally. A great project on improving staff retention still makes you master stakeholder management, process mapping, data analysis, the core skills of SLO 11.
Okay, that reframing is really helpful, and all this work gets documented centrally.
Precisely. The main tool for this is the Quality Improvement Assessment tool, the QIAT, and that gets submitted and tracked on Kaizen, which is the e-portfolio platform most trusts are using for this now. It's your single source of truth.
This feels like a vital bit then. You can't just submit an ST1 level project when you're at ST5 and expect it to fly. The expectations evolve pretty significantly.
They do, and that progression is key. So for those in core training, that's ACCS, CT1, ST2, the expectation is all about participation and understanding. You're basically the apprentice.
And what are assessors looking for specifically at that level?
They want to see you've engaged with some kind of audit or QI work each year. But the real focus is on your reflection. Did you understand the principles? Did you reflect on the team-based nature of it?
So it's less about leading and more about learning.
Absolutely. The evidence comes from your QIA, but also your MCR and MSF. They need to show you're a safe, engaged team member. It's low-risk engagement, high-yield learning.
Okay, that transitions us nicely into intermediate training, so ST3. You're not just a participant anymore. What's the change in responsibility?
At ST3, it really shifts towards data analysis and evaluation. You have to move from just asking, what did we do, to did it actually work and why?
So you have to own the metrics now.
You do. You need to record a project with proper data analysis and, crucially, evaluate the changes you made. You have to be able to talk about your specific contribution.
Right. And then we hit higher specialist training SD4 to ST6. This is where the leadership bit comes in, and I imagine the risk profile goes up a lot.
Massively. The focus here is full leadership and completion. You have to lead a project from start to finish. One big, high-impact project is required during your HST years.
When you say high risk, what does that mean in practice? An ST1 project failing isn't a huge deal, but an ST5 project could be an organizational disaster.
And that's exactly why the scrutiny is so much higher. An HST project has to tackle a complex system or pathway. If you try to restructure the entire acute medical take and it fails because your methodology was flawed, that's a big problem.
So how is that assessed?
Well, for assurance, your work has to be reviewed by a regional panel that has specific QI expertise. They're not just looking at the outcome. They're assessing your decision-making, your conflict management, your strategic planning. They need to know you can lead change responsibly.
Okay, let's get into the QIAT submission itself. This is where a lot of the anxiety comes from. The source material says a good one is about 7 or 8 pages long. I mean, that sounds like a massive documentation burden. Doesn't that kind of contradict the whole ethos of living the change by making you focus on writing instead of doing?
It's a fair point, but you need that space because it's not just a report of facts, it's a report of your learning. A simple form just can't capture that thought process. It's split into 3 parts to make sure you cover everything.
Okay, so let's unpack part 1, the project.
Yeah.
The mechanics.
Yeah.
What's expected?
It has to start with a robust problem analysis. You have to prove this is a real problem locally, not just something you read about. Then, methodology justification. Why did you choose the model for improvement over, say, lean? It shows you're thinking critically.
And the SMART aim. This has to be precise, right?
Non-negotiable. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. The example from the guidance is perfect. 80% of asthmatic patients being discharged from the ED should meet RCEM standards by the end of July 2019. 0 ambiguity.
And then the outcomes.
Yes, and this is crucial. You have to measure using time series charts, so run charts or SPC charts. And you must have at least 2 data points to show change over time. Then you describe your interventions, your PDSA cycles, and what you learned from each one, especially the ones that failed.
Okay, so beyond the clean metrics of part 1, we get to the bit that usually makes or breaks a project, the people. Part 2, working with others.
The human element. This is often the hardest part in a chaotic ED. You have to document team dynamics. How did you manage conflict when you asked a nurse who's been doing something one way for 20 years to change? How did you get everyone to contribute?
And stakeholder management in the ED is a minefield. You've got pharmacy, labs, primary care, the surgical teams.
Exactly. You need to include a proper stakeholder analysis. Who are the key players? How did you manage them? Did you have to use data to get them on board?
And what about patients?
Yes, patient involvement is absolutely essential. How did you bring the patient or carer voice into it? And this isn't just a survey at the door. Maybe you shadowed a relative through their journey or sat down with frequent attenders. Without that, you're often just guessing.
Which brings us to the final part, part 3, reflection on leadership. This is about personal growth.
It's your self-inventory, self-awareness. How did your own personality affect the project? Did you delegate enough? Then, what did you actually learn about QI and leadership? And finally, your personal development plan. Where are you going to take these skills next? It's about showing insight into your own potential.
So to even get part 1 right, you have to use some specific tools. These aren't optional extras, are they?
Not at all. They're the required artifacts of the methodology. You have to show you can use them.
So let's list them. What are the must-haves?
You need to show driver diagrams to visualize your strategy. You need a fishbone or Ishikawa diagram for your root cause analysis.
Can you just give us a quick ED example of how a fishbone helps?
Sure. Let's say you're looking at delays to analgesia. An audit just tells you how many patients waited. A fishbone diagram makes you ask why. Is it a process failure, like a slow prescription system? Equipment, like a missing pump? Or people, like training issues? It separates system faults from individual ones.
That's really clear. Okay, so we also need process mapping, run charts or SPC, and that stakeholder analysis we mentioned.
And all of that feeds the PDSA cycle, the engine. Plan your test, do it on a small scale, study the data, and then adapt it, adopt it, or abandon it. You have to show you're cycling through that loop over and over.
Okay, let's pivot a bit.
All right.
Because SLO 11 isn't just about the project you write up in your QIA. It's also about daily professional behaviors.
And these are arguably more important. These are the safety descriptors that show you're a safety leader day to day.
Such as?
You have to demonstrate you prioritize patient safety in everything you do. You have to be seen to escalate concerns about safety or quality of care.
And learn from when things go wrong.
Yes. A deep commitment to learning from incidents, investigations, complaints, and understanding the bigger picture human factors, recognizing that systems often cause errors, not just individuals.
Which links to non-technical skills.
Absolutely. Things like crisis resource management, communication, situational awareness in RESIS, and maybe the most important one for an ED doctor,
Wow.
consistently recognizing the limits of your personal competence.
And not doing unnecessary tests just because you're uncertain.
That's it. That is a core safety behavior.
So if we pull all this together, mastering SLO 11 isn't really about producing one perfect 7-page document. It's more about documenting a consistent breadth of experience.
Yeah.
It's about showing you're committed to improvement and safety in everything you do, whether your project is about sepsis pathways or reducing plastic waste.
And if you want a final thought on this, the thing that separates a good trainee from a truly safety-conscious consultant, it's often seen outside the formal QI project.
Yeah.
SLO 11 demands you master the PDSA cycle, yes, but you also have to live those daily professional behaviors. And as you move forward, just consider this. The two actions that carry the most professional weight and are probably scrutinized the closest by panels are your disciplined demonstration of escalation when you see a problem and the responsible recognition of your own competence limits. You need to be thinking about and documenting those moments every single day.